come down front, welcome to do so. There are still a few floor seats available. Students or staff, if you'd like to have a comfy chair, come on down. Also, Blaine Leon, Casey Livingston, and Hannah Livingston, to the office, please. Blaine Leon, Casey Livingston, and Hannah Livingston, to the office. All right, good afternoon, Trailblazers. It's Friday. Hey, we're getting ready to start here, guys. It's Friday, and you have earned yourself a 3-day weekend. That's my gift to you. No school Monday. Hey, very quickly, before we introduce our guest speaker today, just want to say thanks to all of our students and staff for a wonderful first 2.5 weeks of the school year. It's gone by fast. Tomorrow's September 1st already. Activity season's in full run right now for all of our groups. It's an exciting time. We all know the school year is a long season. Okay? It's not just 2.5 weeks, it's not even just a quarter, it's not just a semester. It's a long season, all the way through May. When we met as individual classes last week and the week before, every group was exposed to the concept of Blazer Pride, and particularly what the 5 letters in Pride stand for. We talked about the letter P, perseverance. Perseverance is what this assembly is about. When I started having conversations with our guest speaker today last spring, it was purely coincidental that his last name is Pride. Pretty cool. But it's also very important for you to realize that his purpose here today, his message, as you see on the screen, is the very definition of perseverance. Okay? So at this time, it's my privilege to introduce to you today's guest speaker, Mr. David Pride. David is from the state of Maine. He's come here all the way to speak to you today from the northeast part of the country. He's spoken all across our great country. He's been in high schools all over. Yesterday he was in southeast Kansas. He's here in the Blazer Nation today. Give him a warm welcome, Mr. David Pride. How you guys doing? How many of you guys are more excited to be sitting in here right now than whatever class you were going to be in? I know the feeling. Man, I can remember when I was in high school or middle school and I'd hear those 3 words of wonder that we were going to have some guest speaker today, and I got to get out of Mrs. Wilson's biology class. It was just the best thing ever. No offense to any biology teachers in here, but man, atoms and protons and neutrons and things bumping together, and next thing you know, you got beef jerky. I just never understood any of it. So I'm so happy to be here with you guys today, and I feel really fortunate that this is what I get to do for a living. And this is actually something that I never even knew was an option when I was in school. Like, no one ever sat down with me and was like, hey David, did you know you could have a career traveling around the world, speaking to groups of young people and reminding them how awesome they are? It was never really something that ever kind of popped up, but as you just heard, I come from Maine. I live up there with my wife. Our dogs, we have a bunch of chickens. This is my little Pomeranian Cherry for you dog lovers out there. That's our rescue poodle, Precious. And for those of you in the back row, yes, she is wearing pajamas. No, that's not just because I'm a creepy animal person, like to dress my animals up. She has some allergy issues, but I'm also a creepy animal person. Any other creepy animal people in here?
Good. There's always a few of us who have, a little bit more excitement than others. And so my wife and I, we live up in Maine. We have our animals. My wife's a former veterinary technician, so it's not very uncommon for someone to stop by with a mouse with a broken leg that we're somehow supposed to nurse back to health, or perhaps a dog or a cat, or any number of things you might find in our family. But most of all, we collect chickens, and we like those designer chickens. You guys ever heard of the silky chickens? They're those ones with those little afros. If you've never seen one before, do you mind if I introduce you to Shish Kebab? So this is Shish Kebab. She has several brothers and sisters. She has a sister named Broth, another sister Noodle. There's Chicken McNugget, Orange Chicken, Colonel Sanders. We've got a whole bunch of them up there. And if you pop by some weekend, you might find my wife and I bathing them. She might be crocheting them a little pair of pants to run around in. I mean, we're straight up the creepy animal people on the family. But man, we own it. Kids won't come by the house for Halloween no matter how big the Snickers is, because they're like, no, that's the dude with the creepy chickens wearing bell-arms. And so, it's cool. We own it, we live it, and we love it. And so I grew up in a family with 3 older brothers. And what was interesting about my family was my 3 older brothers, as they were getting older, it's like they had some sort of internal GPS. And what I mean by that is people would ask them what they want to do with their life, and they knew. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. And I can remember being in high school and middle school and be filling out these forms of let's write down what you're good at. Let's look at your future. Where do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be? And I had no idea. But people would ask my 3 older brothers, and they'd know exactly what they wanted. And what was challenging for me is I'd hear my brothers talk about what they wanted to do, and then I'd kind of be wondering what was wrong with me. Why didn't I know what I wanted to do? Because they so clearly seemed to understand it. So my oldest brother, Donnie, this guy here with the guitar, man, ever since I was just a baby, he was practicing guitar. And my dad would come to him and talk with him about career choices and how to find a safe and secure career and be an engineer like him. And my brother Donnie would always talk about how he wanted to be a guitar player. And my dad would always interrupt him and kind of remind him hey Donnie, you come from Maine. How many guitar players do you know that came from Maine that are making a living and actually providing for their family? And there wasn't a huge list, but Donnie didn't really care. He continued practicing and getting better and better. And he's traveled all over the world now with a whole bunch of bands and recently finished up his doctorate degree in jazz composition. And he's had a fascinating career in music, doing what so many people told him he could never do. And there's my brother Tom, and he was a lot more like my dad, and he would always want to be an entrepreneur and do business and sales trainings, and that always made my dad pretty happy. And Tom went out, and he's now created this great career for himself, doing exactly what he always talked about when I was a kid. My brother Michael, the guy with the drum set here, man, Michael, up until 6th grade, Michael played trombone. And then at about 6th grade, he turned it in for a pair of drumsticks. Any percussionists in here? Awesome. So you know then, when you decide you're going to start playing drums, you're given this white circular pad, right? It's for you to practice on. That pad's designed so you don't annoy your entire family. But yet my brother still figured out that, I'm going to practice this thing all the time. He found out all kinds of creative ways to use his drumsticks. And so I remember we might be on a family road trip. Man, he'd have his drumsticks out. He'd be playing it off the dash. Hey, Dave, listen to this. Doesn't that sound awesome? I'm like, yeah, man, sounds great. Anyhow, look at that billboard. That sounds just about as awesome. And so then we'd be going through for a family dinner. It'd be Thanksgiving afternoon. My brother would be downstairs practicing on his drum set. He'd come up. The family would all be coming over, and lo and behold, Michael would have his drumsticks with him. He'd be playing the plates. He'd be playing the dishes. He'd be playing the fancy silverware and all this stuff. And I remember and he checks this, check this out. It's all done as he smacks the mashed potatoes. Man, I'm dude, look. The only thing that sounds good right now is the sound of that gravy sloshing on my biscuits. Put down the drumsticks and hand over the platter. And so we eventually continued working through it. And Michael continued pursuing his drums, and my dad would talk with him about, Michael, why don't you think about pursuing a career in something where you actually might have a future? And my dad would tell my brother about all the things that he could do in his life that made sense. All the things that he could do in his life that were a bit more normal than being a musician from Maine. But Michael continued practicing, continued getting better and better, and went off to school in Manhattan. Shortly after that, he became a pretty well-known percussionist, was picked up and just came off his third world tour with Amy Schumer. Traveled all over the globe, playing drums, doing you'll never be able to make a living doing this. And then there was me. Man, I was a little fat kid walking around. What do I want to do with my life? I don't know, but I know there's a bean factory down the street and it's calling my name. Seriously, B&M Beans, look them up. Saturday night, beans and weenies at the Pride House. But I have no idea what I want to do, so we can fill out these forms. What are you going to do with your life? It's your junior year. What are you going to do when you're 50? It's like, man, I have no idea. What are you going to do 3 years from now? I don't know, I just want to get out of school. Well, what are you good at? Talking fast and sweating a lot. Okay. The career list was pretty short. And I sit back sometimes and hear people talk about my brothers who are so talented and have this clear direction in their life. And I look at their highlight reel of all these amazing things they have accomplished, and I compare it to myself. I'm like, man, I really wish I had an idea of what I wanted to do. And my mom would talk with me a little bit about what I envisioned. I'd always tell her, Mom, I don't know. I think, someday maybe I want to own my own business. I want to help people. I'd like to be wealthy. And my dad would tell me, well, David, you can have your own business, you can help people, you can be wealthy, but those three things don't go together. And so I never really had this clear understanding for such a long time in my life. Other than that, I knew that I wasn't like the great guy who was good operating within a box. So for me, if I got a job and I might be pushing grocery carts, if someone told me to get there at 9 o'clock, that was kind of like a challenge to me to get there at like 9:04. I don't know if any of you are like that, but the job environment just wasn't my best thing. And I was trying to figure out, well, how can I get out on my own and do my own thing and kind of own my own future? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today, but it was just an interesting situation that I found myself in. Trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? And so many people seem to just have it figured out. Right? Probably some of you in this room right now, man, you got to burn. You got to burn in your belly. When you think about the future, you can't imagine your life without this one thing. It might be the arts, it might be in science, it might be STEM, it might be all kinds of things. But for some of you in this room, you've got that burn. You know what you want to be doing. And you dream about the future, and you have this vision of what life could be like, and then people come and haters come and they tell you you can't have it, and you begin to believe it for a little while. With others stopping to realize that the only reason you have this vision of what your life could be like, of the things you could do, of you living your dreams, is simply because you can. It's not there to tease you. This idea of what my future life could be like, if only this. That idea of what your life could be, it's there because you're meant to get after it. And for those of you who have an idea of what you want to be doing, don't wait. Get around people who are doing it already. Find some mentors. Get to know them. Pursue it. That burn is there for a reason. And for those of you more like me, you've got some time. It might not reveal itself immediately, but man, we keep improving ourselves. But today we're going to start with a true story about a woman named Elizabeth. Elizabeth grew up in inner city New Jersey. She had 8 older brothers and sisters. And she grew up in what most people would consider poverty. Her mom had Elizabeth outside of her marriage, and so every time her mother looked at Elizabeth, she was reminded of a mistake that she made. And every chance she got, she reminded Elizabeth of that mistake. And so instead of growing up and hearing words of affirmation and being loved on and being told that she had some sort of purpose and drive, she was reminded of all the reasons why she could never succeed in life. And that she was just a loser, and that she was worthless. And if her own mom doesn't love her, why on earth should she ever believe that she has potential to live an amazing life? And Elizabeth would come to school when her mother would let her, and the kids would pick on her, and she'd try to find her own way. She'd try to figure out, when she could hear about families who loved on their kids, she'd often wonder, well, what's my purpose? And sometimes she'd go home that night, and her mother would keep her from returning to school the next day, because if she went back, someone might figure out the abuse that was taking place at home. And she was held at home for many different reasons, and sometimes like the abuse, other times was simply because her mom didn't believe she deserved an education. She didn't believe that she deserved any equipping to be able to live the life that she imagined, so why let her go to school? So she'd lay under the covers at night with a flashlight and read as much as she could and work on herself, knowing that if her mother caught her, she'd catch another beating, or knowing that if someone else came into the room, something even worse might happen. And she'd wonder, why am I going through this situation? And it was this long, dark period of life for her. But inside of her was this dream, this burn. And it wasn't this Hollywood burn that we see nowadays. It wasn't this amazing dream of I want to have multiple Bentleys and a $20,000 watch and 4 million Snapchat followers, and I want to get paid big money for endorsing a diet tea. No, Elizabeth would sit back and think about her future, and Elizabeth set this goal in her head of someday, I want to have a family, and I want to have kids, and my one goal in life is man, I just don't want them to ever wonder if I love them. You see, sometimes we think about our current situation. We think about some of the challenges we face. And then we think about goals that we want to set. And then we sometimes beat up our own goals because they're not these magnificent, amazing, Instagrammable moments. When we got a bad grade on the test, and then we say, okay, I might have failed this last one, but on the next one I'm going to get an A+. And then we get a C, and then we beat ourselves up without ever recognizing the progress we've made. See, it's great to have big goals and big dreams, but sometimes we need to break those down a little bit into smaller steps and build up some momentum. Find some mentors that we can trust and share our goals with. So Elizabeth would go through life trying to hold on to this dream and figure out ways that she could improve her own life. And for her, she found 3 ways. And the first one for her is that she began reading, and she began finding this escape in reading. And sometimes it might be just a fiction book, and other times it might be a book teaching her how to improve herself and prepare her for the future she was imagining. But every moment she got, she hid away and tried to educate herself, preparing her for what a life she knew she could live. She began to examine her friends. She began to look at the people she was rolling with, and she began to realize that there are some people here that are just holding me back. And they're reminding me of my highlight reel of failures in life, and every time I go to them and tell them what I want to do next, they tell me why it can't possibly happen. And she began to realize that maybe there's some people I don't need to be hanging out with. And it's not because they're losers or worthless or bad people. It's simply because right now we're on a different path. And when they're ready, they can catch up. But it's not up to me to go back down continuously and try to pull them out because it's so hard to leave that situation. And finally, she began to realize that she had to look for the positive in everything. And for Elizabeth, sometimes the positive was only that tomorrow was coming. I think sometimes we believe this fallacy that if things get bad, then we go through enough bad things and all of a sudden it's going to magically get better. When in fact, sometimes in life, we're going through this really awful dark season, and we share with our friends what we're going through, and when you come out of it, your friends tell you, hey man, look, you survived that, it can't get any worse. And then you get kicked in the stomach again. And you step back and kind of wonder, why is this happening to me? I thought I'd been through the worst. And for Elizabeth, she had to find the positive in everything. And try to find that drive to continue pushing forward and improving herself and associating with people who believed in her. In the summers, her aunt and uncle would let her come up to their farm. And she'd go up to their farm and they'd let her work there and they'd talk with her about her future and how she has a purpose. And how even though her mom, the person that should be building her up, was just tearing her down, her aunt and uncle were there to pour into her. And she'd spend as much time as she possibly could with them and believing their words and knowing this entire time that at the end of the day, at the end of the summer, a car would pull into that driveway and her mom would get out and she'd be put back into this car and driven back to New Jersey where the first stop would be to get her head shaved. And then when she did get home, she'd be put back into the dirty clothes and her mom would take that opportunity to remind her how she doesn't deserve anything better. And it was this season of darkness in her life. Her entire childhood. For years. Overcoming it. For years her searching for the positive. For her years for her pushing through. Trying to figure out why is it happening to me. It seems like everybody's life is so much better than mine. life, the people who should love us the most, who should want the best for us, hurt us the most. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it fair. It doesn't mean that the heavens are going to open up and provide you this amazing meaning behind it. Sometimes that's just the case. And for some of us, we hang our hat on it and we say, this is the reason I'm a failure. This is the reason I give up. Look at the situation. Look at my addictions. Look at my challenges that no one actually knows about. You know what? This is why I gave up. And for others, they look at it and they say, I'm going through this awful season, but I'm going to continue working on myself. I'm going to continue preparing so that when the harvest is ready, I'm there. When that life that I'm imagining, when that life, that vision, that dream that I'm holding on to so dearly, man, when that's about ready to come true, I'm going to be ready for it. I'm going to get after it. Other times people let us down and they don't even know they did. This photo up here is a picture of me and my dad. My dad's about 80 years old. He and I are best buds. We talk every single day. And it's interesting because when Christmas time rolls around, my father and I, we go out for this, what we call our Christmas date. What we do is we go out to dinner, we find an Italian restaurant, we eat about 10 million carbohydrates, and then we like to just chat and get to know each other better. This past Christmas, my dad and I, we were going on our Christmas date, and we happened to be getting an ice storm at the same time. And so we're sitting at this restaurant, and we had the good fortune of being able to sit by the window so we could watch people fall. But as we're sitting there, we're eating dinner, my dad begins to tell me about his childhood. And he tells me that as a kid, when he would get excited about things and tell his dad about them, his dad never seemed to know how to reciprocate that excitement. And his dad never seemed to know how to be excited for him. And it used to really bother him. Because he had something that he was dying to tell his dad, and when he went and told his dad, it just seemed like his dad was completely disconnected from him. And it was interesting because as my father was telling me this about him, which was something I'd never ever heard from him before, I began thinking about my life. And about 13 years ago, I walked into this pet store in Scarborough, Maine, and behind the counter was this blonde-haired girl that was really pretty, and I wanted to ask her out. And you guys, probably none of the men or women in this room have this problem, but I have no game when it comes to the ladies. I know that's a shocker. Any man who looks like Rascal Flatts must be killing it on the field. Got my glass of broken road, the made to Krispy Kreme. And so, but that wasn't planned. So then I'm trying to figure out how am I going to ask this girl out. Man, I'm like thinking up all these good one-liners that I know aren't going to work. And so instead I'm just going to creep. I'm going to be creeping here. I'm going to stand here at the counter, keep making more and more conversation. We're like 25 minutes in. And like it's going pretty well. She ain't called the cops yet. So we're still chatting. I'm trying to think of something else cute to say. I'm running out of things quick. And then I realize I have my secret weapon on my phone. So I start pulling out pictures of my Chihuahua named Gizmo. I'm like, this is my Chihuahua Gizmo. Gizmo has a pea coat. Gizmo has cute little Uggs that she wears in the winter. Gizmo does little tricks like poop under the dinner table. And I'm telling her all these great things, and finally she gets sick and tired of me yammering on and sweating all over her table. And she said, look, you want to go out sometime? I'm like, yes, I do. So we go out to dinner, and 2 months later I ask her to marry me. And so, that afternoon leading up to it though, I remember when I decided that I was going to do this. And I was super jacked to tell my dad. Because I'm picturing like the hallmark moment. Like, you know what happens? You tell your dad something like that, like it's straight on like man stuff now. So I'm driving over to my parents' house. My parents are out front raking. And up in Maine, where the Arctic tundra flows, you know, raking is really just dragging a metal frame through the dirt, like taking off a bunch of ants. But my dad and mom are up there doing this raking, which is something they always love to do. And my mom's in the backyard, my dad's in the front, and I run up to him. And I'm picturing this reaction from my father. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I have a pretty good idea, and it's going to involve a saddle, a moose, strangling a bear, and donuts in the church parking lot. And so, like, I can't wait to tell him because I know what we're doing next. And so I run up to him, I'm like, hey, Dad. He's like, yes. I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm going to ask Aaron to marry me. Now, something you need to know about my father is my dad's been married for 60 years. He's third generation Maina. If you've never been to Maine, R's don't exist where I come from. They turn into AHs. And my papa worked in a mill and chopped down trees, and rumor has it he would grow his toenails so long that he wouldn't need those spiky boots to be able to climb trees. I tried it for a while, but it was growing in my Jordans. And so I go to my dad and said, I'm going to ask Aaron to marry you. And he says, yes, sir. And I go, Dad, I'm going to ask her to marry me. And I'm waiting for like the high five, maybe like a noogie, like we're going to go punch a squirrel, like we're going to do something cool right now. And he goes, yes, sir. I go, Dad, I'm going to ask her to marry me. He's quiet, keeps raking. And finally he looks up and he says, yes, sir. If that's what you want to do, don't get divorced. And that was it. Like, there was no bearskin jackets being made. There was no, like, absurd violence. Like, there wasn't even, like, a slap in the back. There was nothing cool. And for the longest time, my dad's reaction to that moment made me think he just didn't get it. Like, he's only been married for 60 years. What does he possibly know about true love? Come on. So when my dad is telling me about his childhood and how his dad never reacted the way he wanted him to, it was funny because at the end of the story, my dad said, and that's why, David, I worked so hard to always be encouraging to you. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, you're killing it in that department. But for years, I really thought he was just kind of a mean guy who didn't get it. For years. I never knew that story. I never knew what my father had been through. I never knew what his relationship was like with my pop-up. I had no idea. Right? You ever had those moments you come home from school, maybe you made the team or you did great on this test, and you get home, and man, you can't wait to tell your parents you got something they're going to be proud of, and you tell your mom, and she's all jacked up for you. Your dad comes home, and you can't wait to tell him, and you run up and you're going to tell him, and your mom's like, look, don't talk to Dad yet, because he needs a Pepsi. Right? And that happens enough to begin to believe this lie in our head that maybe they just don't care about us, without ever considering maybe what was their journey. What have they been through? And so as I was growing older, my mom would talk to me more and more about what I wanted to do with my life. So my brothers were so focused, and the only thing I could think of was working for myself. And finding a way to help people. And there really was no boxes to check on those forms you fill out about your career goals, about that type of thing. And so it was challenging. So finally at 16 years old, I came home from school one day, and my mother had cut out this article from the newspaper. And it was an article written by the richest man in my town. And when I say rich, this dude was like mega rich. He had a baby blue Bentley, a helicopter pad in his backyard. He had a plexiglass floor in his kitchen so he could look down and see Brandy Pond. Just an amazingly wealthy dude. And he wrote this article about how he didn't understand why more people didn't come to him for financial and business advice. Because if they did, he'd be willing to help them. And so my mother cut out this article and she put it on my bureau and she said, David, you keep saying someday you want to work for yourself. If that's the case, you need to find a mentor. You need to hang out with this man. So at 16 years old, I wrote this dude a letter and I told him, look, I don't know who you are and you don't know who I am, but my mom tells me you're the richest man in our town, and quite frankly, I think I'd like to figure out how to be wealthy someday. Would you be willing to teach me how to have my own business? And I sent him this letter. I didn't think I'd ever hear back from him. But about 3 months later, he actually called me from one of his homes in Nevada, and he called me up and he said, David, I got your letter, and I'd be happy to meet with you and start talking with you about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. We've since been meeting for the past 20 years or so, and I've learned so much from him. And so it was fascinating because as I got older and trying to figure out my way, entrepreneurship and the things I wanted to do with my life didn't really open up right away. And I found myself bouncing around from job to job after college, trying to figure it out. And eventually I got recruited to go and do this job down in Charleston, South Carolina. I was working for my brother who was very successful, and he recruited me to come down there and sell Carhartt clothing to tobacco farmers. I don't know if you've ever worn Carhartt. Anybody here ever wear Carhartt clothes? Okay, then you know they're hot. Right? And you know when it's like 110 degrees in the middle of a tobacco field, it's probably not what you want to be wearing. Well, I would pull up in my little car with my little haircut and my main license plate, and they'd know right away that I was a Yankee, and I'd go in and I'd try to sell them something. They wouldn't be down with what I was trying to sell them, and I was awful at this job. And I tried, awful, and man, there's no happy ending. 3 months into it, my brother figured out I was awful at it. And he let me go. And I found myself in Charleston, South Carolina with my wife. We were broke as a joke, because we had spent all of our money to move down there. What was interesting is I kept hearing business owners, people talking about social media as I was out there pitching these clothes. And this is right when Facebook was first coming out. And I kept hearing business owners say things like, boy, you know, someone mentioned our Facebook page or asked if we're on Facebook the other day. But we just don't have time for it. And so when I got laid off, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And I wasn't sure, but I knew I kept hearing about this need of people needing someone to manage their social media. So I decided at that moment I was going to figure out how to roll in the social media game, and I began calling companies and telling them that I was a social media expert, even though I knew absolutely nothing. And I got my first client up in Maine. I moved back to Maine, started my company, and as it began to grow, I realized that, man, this has some serious potential. At the same time, there was this television show that was becoming more and more popular called Shark Tank. Have you ever watched Shark Tank? I love Shark Tank. And so I'm watching it. And you know what happens? Someone has a great business idea. They go on Shark Tank, they get funded, they drive off in like a sweet car, a private jet, and they're rich. Like, it sounds like a pretty good game plan. So I need to find myself a shark. So I'm thinking to myself, who do I know who's wealthy enough who might potentially invest in this company I'm starting? And I immediately think of my mentor. This guy who had known me since I was 16 years old, who I'd been talking with about business my entire life anyhow. Surely he'd want to invest in my business. And so I called him up and told him a little bit about what I was doing and why it was going to be one of the best investments he's ever made. And I couldn't believe it when he agreed to meet with me. We sat down, and after a few hours, he actually agreed to invest in my business. And I was so fired up. Man, I was so excited. I was even more excited when he told me he'd introduced me to other investors. And the most important thing he said to me was, he said, David, I believe in your business, but more importantly, I believe in you. And that was like the golden ticket. I remember driving home and calling my wife, and I'm telling her about how our life is going to change and how we're not going to be broke anymore and how this is just going to be incredible. Things just changed, and I had this really cool feeling that all of a sudden I'm the dude providing. Like, this is just insane. And I get home that night, and I sent my mentor a follow-up email thanking him for his time, and attached to it, I put a YouTube link. I said, I want you to go ahead and hop on YouTube and check out this link of me speaking. And the video was of me speaking at a tourism conference about social media, and I said, I want you to check it out because it's one of the ways my business grows. And I want you to see how my business grows. And so I sent him this link, and in my head I pictured his reaction as he watched this video of me speaking. And what I pictured was him getting more and more excited about this investment he made in me. And I fired off this email, and I went to bed that night, and I was so excited to get up the next morning. Like, you ever go to bed and you're like, man, I hope I sleep fast. Like, I can't wait for the morning. You got a big game the next day. All right, something cool's going to happen. First day of school, can't wait to get back into school. You're like, whatever it is, something big's happening. I can't wait. So I go to bed that night, and I just can't wait because I know it's going to happen. I'm going to wake up in the morning. It's going to be an email from my mentor. He's going to say he's even more excited, and then we're just going to ride off to the sunset. So I wake up that next morning, and he actually already had emailed me back. And I open up this email and start reading it. And it starts off with, hey, David, thank you so much for the email. I especially am thankful that you included that link to you speaking. I want you to know I watched that video of you speaking, and David, you're the worst speaker I've ever seen in my life. You're one of the worst communicators I've ever seen on stage. And in case you didn't notice, at minute 32.03, the man with the white hair in the front left row was falling asleep. None of your jokes were funny, your content was awful, and because of this, I can't invest in your company. I've also advised the other investors that they shouldn't invest in you either. And if this sounds harsh, it's important for you to understand that the business world is harsh. I wish you luck. And just like that, I went from the top of the mountain to underneath it. I had this embarrassing moment where I had to tell my family about this thing that wasn't going to happen anymore. And even worse is I could feel it in my heart. I could feel it in my chest, my heart growing cold towards my mentor. And I decided because of this thing he said to me, I was never going to speak to him ever again. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to prove him wrong. And I'm going to do what all the books tell me to do. And I'm just going to stay focused. And I'm never going to speak to him ever again. And someday, when I'm successful, he can come back and kiss my feet because now I'm successful. questions and things that I know my mentor would have an easy answer for. And there's part of me that wanted to call him and talk to him, and then there's the other part of me reminding me that we're never going to speak again. That's kind of one of the challenges with grudges and holding negative feelings towards people is it hurts both of you. It hurts the person that you're not speaking to anymore, and it hurts you because you secretly want to still talk to them. So about 2 years had passed, and I was walking into the gym because back in the day I used to lift things heavier than burritos and Tostitos. I'm walking into the gym, and my cell phone rings, and it's my mentor. And I think I know exactly what he's going to say. David, you are really killing it out there. I'm ready to invest now. So I answered the phone. I'm like, hello. He's like, hey, David. I said, hey. And he said, look, I want to talk to you. I've been thinking about your business. I'm like, here it comes. Pennies from heaven. I still don't want to invest. All right, cool. Glad you called. But David, I want you to have been thinking about your business. And one of the reasons I've been thinking about it is because we haven't spoken in about 2 years. And he went on to tell me that he hoped that the reason that we hadn't spoken is because he had hurt my feelings. And we began to continue to talk about this and the situation. And what's been fascinating is in the 20 years that I've been working with my mentor, you know what the biggest lesson is that he's taught me? It hasn't had anything to do with finding sick companies and making them healthy and selling them again, or how to do really impressive things with money. The biggest lesson my mentor ever taught me was about forgiveness. The biggest lesson he ever taught me was that sometimes in life we get really mad at someone because they say something that hurt us, and it hurt us really deeply, but in fact, if we're willing to move past that thing, life can be better for both of us. Right? Sometimes there's some people that we cut out of our life because of a single instance, when in fact they had so much more value than that one thing we disagree on. And out of stubborn pride, sometimes we hold on to it and say, I'm just never going to move past this. I can't ever speak to you again because you hurt my feelings. We disagree on this one thing, and because of that, we can't speak anymore. When in fact, sometimes that's something we just need to move past and move on. So people always ask me, though, what happened to Elizabeth? Well, Elizabeth eventually got out of the abusive household she was living in. She went on to get married. She was married for 60 years. She went on to have 4 sons, and one of which became a very successful classical and jazz guitar player. Her second son became a very successful percussionist. Her third son became a very successful businessman, and her 4th son stands before you today. Remind me to pay you for that reaction later. But I can tell you as a kid, I would sit with my mom, and my mom would tell me stories about her childhood, and what it was like to be the 8th person in your dirty bathtub, or what it was like to go next door to eat because her mom would refuse to feed her. And what's amazing is when my mom was sharing with me all these stories about the abuse that she came through, she never once ended any of those stories with, and that is why your life is bad. And that is my excuse as to why I have this problem. Instead, what my mother would do is she'd sit with me and she might share with me some of these stories, and she would end it with, David, there's a reason sometimes we have suffering. There's a reason we have periods of darkness in life. And it's not so we can sprout up excuses and hang our hat on it because we know everybody would understand if we did. It's because at some point, we're going to be someone else suffering with that same thing. And because we've had victory over that thing, we're able to help them. And as a kid, I used to look at people coming into the house and sitting with my mom at the dinner table. And I would often wonder, why on earth does this woman want to sit and talk with my mom? My mom was always happy and cheerful, and there'd be women sitting at the dinner table sharing with my mom the stories that they're going through. And I'd hear her talking with them about the purpose of pain, the purpose of struggle. Man, we can use it to just hang our hat on and give up in life, or we can use it to push us forward. We can allow that pain and struggle to turn us into builders, or we can allow it to turn us into breakers. We can be a builder who views our challenges as an opportunity to find some victory, to learn some lessons, to turn into a way to help other people, or we can use that opportunity just to give up. Right? A builder looks so positive in everything. Man, a builder mouth shut when something seems off or someone's getting picked on. They step up and say something. They don't just let it happen. Oh, someone will say something eventually. Well, what that person said about that other person was true, so I don't need to alert anybody. Right? Or we can allow those situations to turn us into breakers where we just kind of give up. Our situation at home is so bad, man, everybody's going to know and understand why this happened to me. I failed that last test and I failed the next one, so everybody naturally understands why I'm going to fail the whole year. We can be builders or we can be breakers. See, we're all on our own journey. But what's difficult in life is we don't know each other's journey. And the person we're talking with today, we have no idea what they're going home to. And I remember when my own journey changed. I was 19 years old. I was in college and I was laying down underneath this bench press before a soccer game. And I was rubbing my collarbone and I felt this weird bump and I didn't really know what it was, but didn't think anything of it. And about 3 months later, I flew off to Houston surgery for a completely unrelated surgery. And it was supposed to take about 35 minutes, and instead the surgery turned into about a 4-hour procedure. And I remember waking up, and it was just my mom in this hospital room and this doctor named Dr. Garza. And he was standing over me, and he had this concerned look in his eyes. You know when you kind of look at someone and you can tell there's a story coming, something you're going to get some bad news? He had this look on his face like he had something to tell me. And so he said, David, we did the surgery. And I said, great, how'd it go? He said, it went really well. And he said, but here's the weird thing, David. He said, we found a 6-inch tumor around your heart. You have cancer from your neck to your groin. And in that moment, my journey changed. Man, I was playing college soccer. I was doing pretty good in school. I was pretty focused on what I was going to try to achieve after college. I was doing everything right. And my journey changed. And what was interesting is shortly after that, I went off and started chemotherapy, where I'd have chemotherapy on every other Tuesday for 6 months. And then when that didn't work, they had 12 weeks of radiation and a couple other procedures. And eventually I found myself on the other end of cancer. But before I started my chemo, I was kind of trying to take my mom's advice and looking for the positive. And so I'm sitting with my oncologist, and he's telling me about what's ahead of me. And I said, look, it sounds like I'm going to be pretty sick, so I'm going to need a handicap parking pass. I mean, seriously, if I'm going to go through chemo, I want to park in the front of Walmart, and I'm the first man in at Pizza Hut. So he gives me this parking pass, and since I am an innovator, I quickly figure out that nail polish remover allows you to extend that date for years to come. I've been surviving cancer for like 22 years now. And so I just handed that parking pass, and then I remember I was pulling the campus. And what was interesting is on one Tuesday, I might go in and get chemo. And on that day, I had chemo on Tuesday, I'd be sick Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. By Sunday, I'd be feeling okay. And then I'd have a good week. And then Tuesday would come around, I'd be sick again. And on my good weeks, man, I looked like everybody else. So I remember pulling onto campus one day, and I'm parking my car up front. And I get out of my car, and it's my off week, so I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm walking to class. I look like every other guy on campus, just a little bit more handsome. I'm walking to class, and I hear this woman from the back of the parking lot. What are you doing parking there? That space is for sick people. You should be ashamed of yourself. And for that woman, at that time, the comment made sense. She'd probably been wanting to say something for a couple months. She'd been saving it up. Man, when the time comes, I'm going to tell this guy what I think of him. When I get that opportunity, he's going to get both barrels. And we're like a shaking can of Pepsi, where we're just dying to tear someone's face off. Right? And for her, at that moment, the comment made perfect sense. Without ever considering my journey. How often do we let these negative feelings build up and build up and build up? And man, when that opportunity presents itself, I'm going to let this guy have it. He's going to find out everything I think about him, his family thinks about him, the whole school thinks about him, and I don't care who else hears. Without ever considering the journey. We don't know if that thing we're going to say to them that might hurt their feelings right now is the same thing their own parents are saying to them. And in the back of our heads, maybe we justify it because a bunch of people laugh when we say it. Up in Maine, we have this really wild phenomenon. Hopefully it's not down here. We have this thing called keyboard warriors. It's wild. You know these people? They'll say stuff, through the glow of a laptop screen they'd never say to your face. It's probably never happened in the school. But up in Maine, it's amazing. Something they want to say, they've always wanted to say. And, they're not going to say it, they're not going to talk to you about it. But you know what? If I slide it into your Instagram direct message box, then, who's going to know? We'll just say this right now and get it off our chest. And you know what we don't realize is maybe that guy's sitting at home, maybe that gal's sitting at home, and she's heard that same type of thing, or maybe even something potentially even worse from their own family. And now they're hearing it from me and 5 or 6 of my other friends. We're just tearing them down. See, my mom used to tell me about a thing called emotional bank accounts. And what she would say is, we all are born with an emotional bank account. And it really depends on the situation we're born into as to what our balance is. And so if you have a bank account here, if you have a $50 balance and you go out and you buy a $60 item, then what happens? You've overdrafted your account. You get hit with fees and all kinds of other stuff. And my mom used to say, David, every child and every friend you have, all of us have an emotional bank account. And some of us have this real fat balance, and it's awesome because we have this perfect home life and perfect parents and perfect brothers and sisters. And others of us have a less perfect environment. And so they're walking around with a smaller balance in their account, and they come to school, the one place where they should be loved and believed in. And withdrawals are happening, they return home, but they don't even have anyone to tell them. We just make these withdrawals when we have the opportunity instead to make deposits and look for ways to encourage people. Look for ways to stand up for someone. Look for ways to compliment. Did you know people never get tired of being complimented? Like, never. I never get tired of hearing that I look like the Rascal Flatts man. Yeah, never. Keep telling me. Find another overweight musician to tell me how to play. That's cool. Yeah. People never get tired of being complimented. Right? If we can find a genuine way to build someone else up, why wouldn't we do it? Make a few deposits in their life. We have no idea what they're going to be facing when they get home or for the rest of the day or the rest of the week. And that one encouraging word that you share with them, maybe the one thing that keeps them from overdrafting on their own account. Look for ways to build each other up. We need to leave deposits and find ways to make each other feel good about ourselves. So finally, I'll end with a couple stories. Do I have any fishermen and fisherwomen in here? Any guys like to go out and catch fish? Awesome. I come from Maine. We got a lot of fishermen up there. A lot of hunter orange rolling around. I'm not a real man's man, fisherman type of guy, but my buddy Kevin is. And then Kevin and I decided not too long ago that we wanted to charter a boat out off the coast of Maine to go deep sea fishing. And if you've ever been deep sea fishing, like you take out on this boat, and it takes like 3 or 4 hours out in the middle of the ocean, and then you yank things out of the ocean. And so Kevin's telling me about it, we're getting kind of fired up, and we're driving off to this boat, and on the way, Kevin begins telling me all this dumb advice. And he's telling me things that I've heard my whole life, and he's giving me advice as if I'm like a toddler. He's like, David, be careful. The tip of the hook is sharp. David, be careful. Some fish have spiny fins on the back of them, and if you touch them, you might cut your hand. Some fish might bite you. You gotta be careful. This type of fish has a horn on it. I'm like, dude, I'm not an idiot. It's like that advice that your parents give you that you've heard 400 times. Like, how many times have your parents told you, don't play with scissors? Like, don't throw them in the air and try to catch them in your ear. It's like, Mom, I only ever tried that like 5 times. Like, you don't need to keep telling me. So we're on the way to this boat, and Kevin's giving me all this dumb advice. And I'm kind of just brushing it off, like I've heard it all before. And so finally we get to the boat and we strike out and we're catching fish. And Kevin's like big time into it. Because Kevin's like a real hunter, fisher, gatherer, and he's going to be on, he could be on Survivor or live inside of a dead deer. Like he knows all the tricks for survival. I'm the guy who knows how to unjam the vending machine. So we're just totally different. But Kevin's at the front of the boat, I'm at the back of the boat, we're fishing, and then we were catching tons of fish. I couldn't tell you what they were, but they all came out of the water. And the ones that didn't eat the plastic at least. And so we're in there, we're pulling them out of the water, and it's cool. Like the first fish is like, oh my word, this worked, I just caught a fish. But by the 5th fish, it's kind of like, this fish for me, it's like, all right, this fish looks exactly like the last one. So my ADD's kind of kicking in, getting kind of bored. And so I start trying to figure out a way to maybe innovate. And I've got to make this fishing experience more fun. I've got to make this more creative. Like, I know Kevin's down with just, doing the traditional, fling the thing over the side of the boat and pull out a fish. But I'm an innovator. I'm an entrepreneur. How can I make this more fun? And so I reach into the bucket and I pull out these little silver things that have weights on them. And they're these little jobbies. You can connect them on your line and it makes your line go out further. And so I take out a few of them and I attach them to the line. And then I let out some slack off the fishing reel. And I have this slack piling up at my feet. I'm like, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to Tootsie Roll this baby out there. And so I start taking this line over my head. And I'm swinging the slack over my head. And man, it's looking awesome. Man, it's like Walker, Texas Ranger going on here. And so I'm up there and I'm ready to let go. And I let it rip. And I hear the first hook fly by my ear. And the second hook fly by my ear. And it's the third hook that finds its way to the palm of my hand right under one of my tendons. And I feel it immediately. And instantly I think of all the dumb advice Kevin had given me. And so I'm up there at the back of the boat, man, like trying to figure out how to get this hook out of my hand. I have blood dripping down my arm, and I'm straight up almost ugly crying, like hoping Kevin's too distracted by the beef jerky he's chewing on, and he's not going to see me bleeding over the side of his boat. And at the same time, I'm standing there and I'm looking down at the ocean. I'm thinking about all these fish. These fish just chilling out. They're all in school, hanging out under the sea, under the sea. It's so much better down where it's wet to take it from boom, boom. And then they bite down. What the heck was that, the shiny thing? They're looking down. All their buddies are looking at them like, you've been told your entire life, don't bite down on the hook. Like, yeah, I have so much more self-control than all my friends at school. Of course I can nibble on this hook. Next thing you know, they're getting yanked up. All their friends are looking at them. You've been taught about this your entire life. Next thing you know, you're in a frying pan. How often in life are we given advice that's actually probably fairly good? We might want to listen to, and then we think that we're the one person on earth who has the self-control to stop the thing before it gets out of control. We kind of look back and say, boy, maybe I should have listened to that advice. But what's cool about being a human, despite what Sebastian says, is that humans, at the same time that we're presented with hooks, we're almost always presented with an emergency exit. What do I mean by that? Man, you ever been at a party, or maybe you're doing something you shouldn't do, and things are kind of heating up, and you're kind of like, not a lot of this getting out of control. I know it doesn't really align with what I know is right, but you know what? I'm going to get, and then all of a sudden your cell phone rings, and it's your mom telling you what's for dinner. It's like, what are you doing? You're ruining the mood. Like, what the heck, Mom? You're ruining my flow. Right, that's your exit. Look for these opportunities that will present themselves to make a better decision. If one isn't there, you can make it up. Oh, man, my mom just texted me. Air conditioner fell out of the window. Landed on my chihuahua. I gotta go. Look for an extra. Finally, I'll end with a story about my favorite vehicle. This car up here was named Elizabeth. I named it after my mom, after my mother lost her ability to drive because of Alzheimer's. And my mother gave me this vehicle until I started my business, and I didn't have any money. I was broke as a joke, and what you can't see is that back seat doubled as my bed. I would travel all over the country talking with these businesses about social media, which back in the day people didn't even know about. And I'd sleep in that back seat and go all over. Well, one day I was driving home, and Elizabeth started making some weird noises. So I took it over to my mechanic, Levi, and Levi gets under the hood and touches some things and plays with some wires, and he comes back and he's like, David, look, I know what the problem is with Elizabeth, is that she has an engine compression problem. I'm like, man, I have no clue what that means. He's like, well, what it means is, David, winter's coming in a few months, you need to get a new car. I'm like, I don't want to get a new car, that's the worst process on earth. He's like, well, winter's coming, you need to get a new car. I keep driving the car for a few weeks, and the noise is getting worse and worse, and so finally I decide maybe I better go out and find a new vehicle. So I go out and I find this guy selling a car, and I decide I'm going to buy it, and I tell him, and I'm driving home that night in Elizabeth. And just like a Hallmark movie, man, I look in the rearview mirror, and I say to myself, this car runs great. I don't think I need a new car. And no sooner do I say that, but Elizabeth gasps her last breaths. And I hear her go, and the power shuts off, and the steering wheel gets hard to turn, and we coast over to the right side of Hayden Road. I'm like a mile from my house. I can already hear my wife laughing at me. Like, I know, like, oh man, it's that engine compression problem. So I get out of my car, and I'm mad, and I'm hearing Levi, all this advice he's given me. You know, and I'm thinking about all the times I could have gotten rid of this car already. So I called AAA, and I'm like, look, you need to tow this to the salvage yard. And I call the salvage yard to find out how much they'll give me for my car. And if you've ever sold anything, you know when you're trying to make it look way better than it is. So I'm like, oh yeah, my car, man, it has like a sweet windshield. It has awesome paint, 4 wheels, like 5 pounds of crushed ranch Doritos in the back seat, premium air. And the guy's like, I'll give you $400. Like, sold. So they take the car and I go and pick up my new one. And a couple weeks later, I'm sitting at home in my office and I get this message on Facebook, and it's a guy from the salvage yard. He says, is this David Pride? I said, absolutely. He said, this ain't David Pride, just told us to know 2 Mercury disabled. And I said, yeah, what's up? And he said, David, I have a question for you. Why did you sell us your car? I said, oh, well, it has an engine compression problem. And I can see the little finger job he's typing as he's typing away. And finally he writes back and he says, well, David, he said, you know, I don't doubt that your car probably did have an engine compression problem. But what's funny about your car is it doesn't run well when it doesn't have gas. Right, so for that moment, when this thing happened, I thought I had all the facts. And so I thought for me, right now, time to pull the plug, time to give up on this thing. Everybody's been telling me like this car's going to die. And without ever once stopping to slow down, take a breath, and look at the gas gauge, instead I sold my car for $400. Now, what was pleasant of this man is he said, you're welcome to come and visit the car. It's out front for sale for $1,500 if you'd like to come and say goodbye to it. Right? How often is this type of thing happening? We think we know all the facts. We think we've heard the advice before. We know where this is heading, so let's just pull the plug on it. But for those of you sitting in here today and thinking about your future and thinking about the school year and what you want to accomplish, and for some of you who are going through seasons of challenge and darkness right now, man, that vision that you have, that picture of what your life is going to be like, get after it. Right? Challenge and pain isn't necessarily a sign that you're doing something wrong. Get after it. And know that with your vision on what you're trying to do and the mentors in your life and a trusted team of teachers that you can speak to, man, you'll always have that power to continue pushing forward in life when everything is pushing back. And thank you so much for having me in today. I'll be hanging out after if you have any questions.
David sharing some social media information with you up here.